Hi, I'm Andrew Wasson. Thanks for joining me for my weekly guitar blog. It's October 19th, 2014, and this week we're going to be running through a few basic techniques for composing melodies. And this week's question was sent in from Dean. He's out in Pueblo, Colorado, and he wrote in with this email. I've watched your lessons for years now, and they've helped me a lot. I enjoy the songs you write each week on the Creative Guitar YouTube. My question is, what are some of the things you think about when you go through expanding on melodic ideas? It amazes me that you write a song every week, and I'd like to know some of your thinking process for making up the melodies. From Dean in Pueblo, Colorado, USA. Well, thanks for writing in, Dean. When it comes to my techniques for organizing a melody line, there's a few concepts that I tend to apply when I want to expand the phrase and when I'm composing. There's a few directions that I'll take, mainly starting in a very simplistic way. Now, these techniques could be slowing the line down after I design how I want it to initially get set up. I could also maybe speed it up. I might add in a few phrasing devices, such as doing some hammer-ons, slides or pull-offs or something like that, bending and all that stuff. Or I might try applying some double stop concepts as well. Really like that sound, sort of one of my favorite colors to add into a melodic statement. Now, I've gone and composed a simple 2-bar melodic statement for this video. So let's check out that melody and then we'll work on expanding it. Well, when I'm just getting started with a melodic idea, I like to begin with a very simple phrase. I'll perhaps, check out a couple of keys, see what inspires me, and then just map my way through a few notes and keep it very, very simple. For our video lesson here, I have a really straightforward phrase in the key of E minor, and here's how the phrase sounds. As you can tell, there's only 5 notes to the whole phrase. It's starting on an F sharp, going to an E, heading to a B quickly, that moves over to a D note, and then it resolves over here into the C tone. And as you probably also noticed, the rhythmic durations that I applied are fairly long. Most of the notes are dotted quarters. There's some tied notes as well. There's a half note in there. So it's fairly long durations. Now, one of the first things after I come up with a statement like this within the key that I've chosen is I'll just end up doing, an initial simple melodic idea that uses the interval harmony of scale tones that are diatonic. Now, my favorite intervals will generally be the very common sounds of diatonic thirds. So here's the original melodic phrase I had, but performed now as a double stop idea using diatonic third intervals. So it's the same phrase, but just done as 2-note intervals now of thirds. And when I test down intervals, I don't always just stick with thirds. I might try some other ones, might try some fifths, and sometimes I have to mix and match them if I'm doing some more intricate harmonies. But one of the other important areas that I'll go to is flipping the interval of the third once I've mapped it out a little bit, and going in the other direction of the inversion of that, which is the sixth, the diatonic sixth. So we're going to match up this same melody idea with the same phrase, exactly using the same principles, with the third interval, though, inverted to become a sixth interval. Here's how it sounds now. So it's the same idea, but the third has been inverted. So it's kind of has a little bit more bass note aspect to it. And I like to mess with those sounds. Sometimes as I'm progressing my way through, let's say, a verse, I might come up with a couple of ideas off the initial statement I make. Then I'll go and, try some thirds, try some sixth intervals, see if I can use that anywhere. And even initially, if I don't use it, I might come back to it later. So those are the initial kinds of things that I like to do when I get started with the work on expanding my melodies. Well, another direction I like to take when I'm messing around with the construction of a melodic phrase is I like to know how the phrase might operate if I keep all of the primary tones in the exact same locations. This means those principal tones of F sharp and E, B, D, and C are all in their original locations from how I started. But however, on the rhythmic end, I would, raise the tempo. Maybe I would add some connecting tones so I could change the note durations into slightly faster ones. So, what I've done here is I've taken the original line, changed the way that it's orchestrated to use the next level of note duration, as well as I've had to add in some additional scale passing tones to do that. So here's how the line sounds with this revamped, more busier rhythmic duration version of it. So all those initial notes, those important ones we started with of, the F sharp, E, B, D, and C, they're all in the exact same spot for the line. But I've just kind of bumped things up to the level of eighth notes primarily. I've added in that 1/16th note phrase in there. Okay, so it's all mostly eighth notes. Except I have that 16th note phrase in there now. And, you can work on doing some other ideas with that. I don't have really anything other than the hammer-on pull-off in the notation for the tap. But, you could do other things. You could even bend that first note. You could even slide on those hammer-on pull-off ideas. So, these are things I would test and, operate with and see what I liked. And, I might decide that I like some of that stuff and maybe some of it didn't fit well with the rest of the way that I composed the line. But the main thing here of this example, as you can tell, is the idea of speeding up the line can really help the phrase take on an entirely new level of phrasing. When these additional scale tones are added into the mix and so forth. So, what we can do to enhance this effect, though, even further, is probably one of my favorite melody building concepts. And this would involve essentially three ideas: applying more phrasing devices. So in other words, more slides, bends, maybe hammer-ons and pull-offs and so forth. Adding a lot more scale tones because we're going to really beef up the rhythmic content, and taking the rhythmic duration. Really, that's the main thing, up to the next level. So as you might have guessed, the melody becomes pretty quick when you do this. We get more scale tones also in the mix, and the phrasing is going to have to take on an entirely new sound with the use of all these, the other embellishments, like hammer-ons, pull-offs, or whatever we add in, slides, or whatever we happen to do. But I did, make something up in this direction. It's mainly using hammer-on, pull-off ideas around a lot of 16th notes, and it's a really drastically reworked version of our original melody. It sounds like this. Here it is one more time. The way that any melodic idea might be expanded upon will obviously be closely tied to how the part interacts with other aspects of the song. This means how the verse and the chorus and the bridge all operate alongside the melody. As I stated earlier, I like to begin by finding a melodic statement that is very straightforward and, begin branching out from there and modifying it and expanding upon it. And, I have to always think through the song how any other melody sections, like let's say an interlude part or a breakdown melody, would interact against what I'm working on. So every part of the song, needs to be properly considered when we start expanding or modifying other existing song parts. When I compose, I'll often return back, to even the intro or a bridge or a verse or a chorus, whatever, section I think doesn't quite fit 100%, and I'll begin modifying those melodies in different ways. So I start with kind of a rough outline, and then I go back and I just start messing around until the song starts to feel as balanced as possible to me. So, try modifying your own melodies. Try starting in very simple ways. Pick a key, do something very straightforward. It doesn't even have to be 2 bars, maybe 1 bar, and then expand that to 2, and then to 3, and then to 4. Maybe set some goals for yourself of I'm going to begin with a 4-bar phrase, or you could say, halfway through that's not long enough. You want to do an 8-bar phrase. But whatever it is, as you go through, try expanding on those melodies that you compose in some of the ways that we discussed here in the video. And I'm sure you'll discover on your own how your favorite ideas can get expanded until they become better and more balanced with the rest of the piece that you're composing. Anyway, that's about all the time I have for today. As always, thanks for watching. Have yourself a great week, and I'll catch up with you next time. Bye for now. Hi, I'm Andrew Wasson from Creative Guitar Studio. You know, whether you're a beginner or an intermediate player, sometimes it can be confusing where to start and where to go with learning to play guitar. So if you're looking for a lesson plan that really breaks down one of the most popular guitar styles, then my new ebook on blues guitar styles should fit the bill. This is more than just a brief overview of a 12-bar blues progression and a few blues licks and scales that you might find in a lot of other books. This lesson plan will start to help you to both understand and expand on whatever blues genre you're into. And you don't even have to be a blues fan to appreciate all the information in this lesson guide. Keep in mind that the blues is the #1 guitar style that will give you a place to go and expand your guitar playing experience. So even if you're not a huge blues fan, even if you feel like you're all over the place and you've just decided that you need to ground yourself in a comprehensive guitar lesson plan, my Blues Guitar Styles Masterclass course will certainly make a difference for you. The Blues Guitar Styles course is over 50 pages of lesson topics covering popular open and movable chords for playing blues. There's also 2 chapters dedicated to helping the student understand everything there is to know about blues progressions. And that's not all. There's chapters on styles coverage for early blues rock and soul R&B. There's a comprehensive blues guitar techniques section covering hybrid picking, finger picking, slide, and open tunings. Plus there's even a section on rhythmic feel and triple meter blues time signatures. And of course, this lesson plan contains all of the patterns for the blues pentatonic scales, as well as dozens of blues licks, plus a chapter devoted to improvisation. But to add to the value of this lesson plan, I've also included 27 MP3 audio files demonstrating every tab example notated in the ebook. It's a tremendous value for a blues course like this, and one you'll only find available through CreativeGuitarStudio.com.